Welcome back to today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next 8 to 10 days across the British Isles. It's taking us more or less towards the last stages of October, actually. 10 days away will be 25th of October, so we'll be virtually going towards the end of the month. It looks like it's staying very unsettled. There's going to be more heavy rain and probably staying quite mild as well, with south-westerly to southerly winds. So mild and wet really sums it up, I think, for the coming week to 10 days. Now, before I get on with that, I'll talk about the advertising. There's video ads on my page at GazMobileBiz.com. If you play the video ad and see what the ad is about, you'll be supporting GazMobileBiz.com. Thanks very much for doing that. So starting off with the 8 to 10 day 500 millibar flow. And we've got the ECMWF on the left, as you know, if you've seen these videos before. The GFS is over on the right. So this is taking us more or less towards the 23rd to the 25th of October. The blue colours indicating below average heights, below average temperature at 18,000 feet. Red colours indicating above average temperature at 18,000 feet. And they extrapolate to low pressure and high pressure respectively. Now the British Isles is just there, and we've got a big trough of below average height sitting around and to the west of the country. Notice how that extends out through the Atlantic and over onto the eastern side of America. And also central eastern parts of the United States are going to have a cold plunge as we go through the next week to 10 days. It's been very mild in the east of the states over the last few weeks, but much colder weather on the way for them. And that cold weather is going to come down into the Atlantic, and I think it's really going to just promote low pressure to run through the Atlantic on this pretty strong jet stream. The jet stream is strong, indicated by these lines here, and actually going to bring more areas of low pressure in across the country. Now, I've got this big area of above average height sitting to the south through the Mediterranean. That's high pressure, so we're basically looking at a classic westerly sort of flow there, with low pressure to the north, high pressure to the south, a strong jet stream bringing low pressure from the east coast of the States and Newfoundland in towards the British Isles. The ECMWF is very similar. There's below pressure in the east of the United States. It extends through the Atlantic and forms a very deep trough of low pressure just to the west of the country. Again, we've got those big above average area of heights for high pressure sitting to the south through Central Europe and into the Mediterranean. And another trough of low pressure to the north. So again, it's a very similar idea with the jet stream running from the east of the States around that trough into the Atlantic. A strong jet stream forming a deep trough there and to the west of the country, and then rising up through the British Isles, keeping us on the mild side of the jet. But with that low pressure, the trough in the Atlantic, it really will be very, very unsettled. So if we have a look at the GFS temperature ensembles for the next couple of weeks, we can see that it is going to be mild, but still just a little bit below average. Had a cool few days, but temperatures are going to be picking up over the next day or so. The red line, remember, is where we should be, and over the next 24 to 48 hours, we're going to go above that red line. We're going to stay there then for much of the rest of the month. To be honest, we can go out right towards the very end of October over here at the far end of the chart. And generally we're staying quite mild, although later on we do get a lot of scatters. We always do, really, once you get to the end of the ensemble. Then you start to get more scatter. But certainly up to around the 25th of October anyway, very good agreement that we're staying mild, we're staying above average. Also, though, we're staying very unsettled, and here's all the rainfall spikes coming up over the next couple of days. There's going to be a lot of precipitation over the next week to 10 days, at least. Very unsettled conditions. Now, the temperature anomalies for the next week, going from the 15th of October to 22nd of October, show that we're going to be pretty warm, to be honest. Most of Europe is in the red colours, so it's going to be mild. Scandinavia, though, is turning cold. There's going to be some cold air towards Scandinavia. Got to watch out for that, whether that can start threatening more central parts of Europe. But generally, the next week, anyway, is going to be pretty mild. So just have a look at the generic charts. Here's the GFS, first of all, from westessential.de. And for Monday, next Monday, 21st of October, we find ourselves in this broad southwesterly flow. Have got quite a lot of blocking there up over Greenland, to be honest. It's in a block sort of scenario, but with the deep trough of low pressure in the Atlantic, we're on the mild side of the block, and we're bringing up that southwesterly flow. But that low pressure is bringing a lot of heavy rain. As we move through to a week's time, Tuesday the 22nd, again we're bringing up this southerly to southwesterly flow, so the mild air is maintained. That low pressure though will be spreading more weather systems in across the country with outbreaks of rain. Moving through to Wednesday the 23rd of October, well, it's still the same idea, lots of blocking over Greenland, but we're on the mild side of the block with this trough of low pressure in the Atlantic bringing up this southwesterly flow. And moving through to a 10-day period, very little change Friday, the 25th of October. Still the blocking over Greenland, so we're not far from being in a colder scenario, but with the high pressure to the east, the deep trough of low pressure out to the west, we're generally on the mild side, and we're bringing up southerly to southwesterly winds, but the low pressure will be bringing in copious amounts of rain. There's going to be some very wet weather to come over next week to 10 days, and certainly for western parts of the country, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we saw some flooding. The ECMWF is very similar with this. There's the chart for Monday the 21st of October, again bringing up that to southwesterly flow with the trough low pressure out in the Atlantic. As we move through to the 10-day period, no change, so low pressure out to west, so lots of wet weather spreading across the country, but with mild southwesterly winds. And that low pressure dominates as we move through to Wednesday the 23rd of October, and on into Friday the 25th, still the low pressure is very much dominating the weather, so more really unsettled conditions very likely. By Friday the 25th though, we're starting to show signs of pushing that trough through a little bit, so it's probably turning cooler there. We're starting to bring some colder air in from the northwest, and we're beginning to push the trough through. And then finally, as we move through to the GEM, which we're going to look at the website meteoseal.fr. The GM is the Canadian model, of course, and it's just loading up now. I've been caught a bit unawares with this. I thought I got the page loaded up, but I hadn't. But there we go, there's the GM, the Canadian model. And again, we'll start off at 144 hours, which is the 21st of October. And again, it's the same idea as all the other models, bringing up that southwesterly flow, very unsettled with areas of low pressure, and really is quite blocked up over Greenland. A lot of high pressure up there, but because of the exact orientation of the low pressure and high pressure, we're on the warm side of the block, and it's very unsettled. And look at this deep storm that comes in a week's time, Tuesday the 22nd of October, a very deep area of low pressure. Could be some tropical remains within that. And overall, it's just a very unsettled looking scenario as we run through to the end of the run, which takes us to the 10-day period, which is the 25th of October. And still no real change, but low pressure is dominating over country, more areas of low pressure in the Atlantic, so it stays very unsettled, lots of heavy rain. Temperatures won't be cold, but that's a little bit cooler in terms of all the other models. The GM is a little bit cooler, but overall it's just a very wet and quite mild period coming up. This coming period looks like it is kind of similar to what we saw perhaps in October 2005 and maybe also November 2009. They're the 2 years I've been looking at that seem quite similar to what we've got coming on. Eventually, both of those years did suddenly snap into a much colder scenario, and I think as we get into November we have got to be looking out for things to be turning a lot colder. And it could well be one of those years where we don't really get a lot of autumn sort of fall, we don't get a lot of change, because what may happen is that the trees may stay quite green and then suddenly get very cold. The leaves could be sort of frozen off with frost. It could be one of those years. We've got to watch out for what's going to happen as we get into November. But certainly for the next week to 10 days, it's staying really quite mild, very mild at times, and very unsettled too, with lots of heavy rain. Look out for some flooding by the end of this 10-day period for western parts of the country. Big rainfall there. That's it for now. I'll be doing 5-day forecast tomorrow, so come back for that. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.